25 November 2023. This is one of that Let's Talk Skidmarks of mine, and it's a channel chat. No specific topic, just general chat. There's lots of things happening to us. One of the things is this: all of a sudden stage 6 load shedding. It is absolutely ludicrous. 4 hours off, 4 hours on, 4 hours off, 2 hours on, 4 hours off. Now, first of all, no refrigerator or freezer can handle that. Don't tell me that, especially we're sitting here today, 38 degrees C. That is absolutely crazy, to say the least. And then the Minister of Darkness makes a stupid statement like, it is the heat wave. What the fuck is that? Then it's the heat wave, then it is too cold, then it is too wet. What exactly do they think we are? Do they really think that all of us are as stupid as they are? But the problem is, they're getting away with this shit. And in one of my Skidmarks, I did talk about that government loan that has now been approved for the just energy transition, or what the fuck they want to call it. My first question is this: how can that government take on loans like that without at least discussing it in Parliament and getting approval from Parliament? Now, I know in South Africa that approval from Parliament is just going through the paces, because the XXX gang, which is most of the political parties, will just go with it. And they go with it because they all share in the loot. And then it is for this green energy cock. They tell us, okay, they need to do 500 million rand or 500 billion rand expansion to the grid to accommodate the renewables. And then there are studies that has been published that say that that grid expansion can take about 10 or 12 years. And it will be much more than what they are saying. But the hilarious part is they're doing it for a source that will utilize that capacity between 20 and 25% of the time. Now, how clever is that? The cleverness is broken. But they get away with it. I have said it many times in my skills. This whole load shedding thing is a manipulation, because you're dealing on the one hand with physical equipment. When that equipment is properly serviced and refurbished, it goes for a period of time without problem, unless there's an accident. But they make as if these power generating plants are as temperamental as they are. That's the one thing. The other thing is obviously the skill stories that we know. There's a skill shortage, but they do nothing about it. And the most important factor is the crime. The crime syndicates are operating in the power stations like hell. They're there. They are the pet dogs of the cabal. So this is all bullshit. But the problem is, nobody ever gets hold of the coals. Nobody. Because the justice system is so corrupt that cases, look now what happened to that Kokos case. Now it is thrown out because the guys took too long. And what really pisses me off is that a large portion of the population sees that technical throwout as a declaration of innocence. But let it be. I'm sticking to my point. They're using the electricity as a weapon. What their goals are, I have got a few suspicions, which I have discussed already in many of the Skidmarks. I think the main aim is to get Eskom privatized. And they terrorize us with this load shedding to a point that the public will agree, sell the bloody thing. The general attitude among the population is sell it, get rid of it. And it is my opinion at the moment that that happened, the Republic is done. Then Cyril has completed his job. They're going to pull the public down, the Republic down, and balkanize the whole country. Because the central structures that is supposed to manage and control and contain and service the country, all of it has collapsed. And it is easier to rebuild it in small components. And a while back I did a Skidmark on the Eskom stories and the load shedding, and I said, why don't they go to Russia and buy some of that torpedo engines from the Russians? I mean, the Russians has got nuclear engines that is in torpedoes, and now I believe they've got engines that they've put in missiles. Why not get some of those engines and hook a bloody generator onto it? And the big thing is this, park those generators at the major distribution points where they just plug into the grid and that's it. No lines need to be built, nothing, fuck all, they're there. And, but who am I? I'm a boer, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to make a plan. And I can tell you now, when I said it first, a nuclear scientist read it and he called me on WhatsApp and he said, you're fucking crazy, that can't happen. And then about 4 days later he sent me a message again, he said, sorry, I was wrong. We could actually do it. I've spoken to guys in America that are looking exactly at that type of solution for decentralized small nuclear power generators. But that's okay. Let's see where this goes. The other problem that I have is that this load shedding is killing the economy. This was supposed to be the Black Friday weekend where the retailers were supposed to make money like hell. I hear reports and I see little videos on TikTok and so forth of people showing large supermarkets in the malls closed. The personnel is standing on the inside in the dark shop, but the doors are closed. Do they really understand? Does this ANC cadres understand what the hell they're doing? And then the Minister of Finance, he screams that the tax collection is taking a dive. Of course it will take a dive if there's no activity. But for us, the thing that we should be very concerned is the collapsing of the ports, because that has got a major effect on a broad base of our economy. Producers and manufacturers can't get their stuff out, and traders, retailers and guys like that can't get their stuff in. I now heard that, I've got a connection in the marine industry, and he said to me that they received a notice from Maersk, the biggest container shippers in the world, where they instructed their shippers to start looking for alternative harbours and avoid the South African harbours because the delays is making everything unprofitable. And then there's one suggestion, they should offload in Madagascar or offload in, I think, Mauritius, and then send with smaller boats. Fuck. That's like replacing the long coal trains that ran from Woodbank to Richards Bay, where one train represents 400 trucks. So we're going to see canoes coming from Mauritius or coming from Madagascar with our shit on it. And they can't transport a container on the canoe, so it will be coming in checker bags, boys. Watch out for that one. And then I've got in the channel itself issues. I tend to publish controversial stuff that people are not used to seeing in the public domain. And some of the things that I publish scares the shit out of people that listen to it, and they hear it and they are over the moon about it. You know, what the fuck is this? And in that scared state, frightened state, they write me comments. And first of all, there's a certain sector that make assumptions about my thoughts, or about my opinion, or about my religion, or about my faith. And they make the assumption, and then they take that assumption as if it's the truth, and then they fucking nail me. Some write a A4 letter, and they shit all over me. I just don't respond, or as could be expected, many times I respond with fuck off. But the reality is this: it seems to me that people has become so numb from all the propaganda that has been pumped into their heads for 30, 40 years. And all of a sudden, there's another piece of information on the table that is supported by facts. And it blows whatever they've been seeing as the truth out of the water. And they struggle to cope with that. But then on the other hand, I must thank the people for the support. There's a lot of support, and the channel is growing. One day, about a month ago, I was doing a Skidmark, and I made a joke and said, let's see if we can't get it by 15,000 before Christmas. We're going, but we're going too slow. We're not going to make it by Christmas. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. I have told you about my issues with the monetization. Google has just simply decided that they will not accept my RSA ID, the barcoded green book. That is, according to them, not a legal ID. What can I do about that? So I must now go to Home Affairs and do an application for a fucking card and wait 3 or 6 months to get it. But that's where I am. And then I want to thank the people that are supporting the channel financially. I really appreciate it. And as I've said many times, if you want me to call your name out, I'll do that. And but I've also said that I can never expect to get a channel sponsor because I'm too dangerous for them. I can fuck their brand up overnight with one publication. So I don't have any illusions about that. And then I want to tell you, I'm busy working with some people. I'm planning to do another series, which I'm going to call Sak Patats, the bag of potatoes. And it is better in Afrikaans because that means that you're coming out with everything. And the plan is to do interviews with ordinary people, not these that you see in the limelight and see on the pages and TV and shit like that. Ordinary people, people like me and you. And get the guys or the girls to share with me 5 or 10 minutes their opinion or their view on some topics. That is something that I've been working on, and I want to do it because I believe that is one of the problems that we have in our society, is we don't talk to one another. We tell one another something. And then I'm in fairly intense debates with a number of black guys. And at stages it is challenging because the biggest problem is the cultural difference. And to try and maintain some civility takes a lot of focus and concentration and commitment to the cause. And my Mr. X and me yesterday we had a violent interaction, and today it started off cool and calm, and then it fucking quickly got wobbly. And by late this afternoon, we reached a place where he said to me, but what will it take for me and you to tackle this threat together? And I said to him, look, the main thing is we need to make very sure that we never abandon respect. Because the problem is you are on the opposite side of the divide from me. And we are from two different cultures. And that makes, sometimes, it makes it very easy for a misinterpretation. And then I said to him, us, Boere, are actually quite robust debaters. If you stand a fair distance from a number of Boere around a braai fire, you will think they're all the time fighting. But it is robust debating. Yeah. And then there's another thing, we call each other names. And we will be having an argument, say, over a Toyota or a Ford bakkie, and he will tell me, you know, if I support a Toyota, and he'll tell me, you're a dwas for doing that. For supporting what's a kak bakkie is daai, and shit like that. But that doesn't send me to a psychiatrist for treatment, for trauma treatment. But my experience over the last 18 months with many blacks that I was in conversation with, they are much more sensitive, and there are certain words, you say that word and there goes the smoke. So we have to understand that we differ in culture, we have got this cultural difference, and not respond on triggers. Take the shot, take a deep breath, and read again, or listen again, or look again, what the hell was now said here. And then try and see the facts and the reality away from the emotion or the narrative. Because the problem is, I have been brainwashed by narrative for a large part of my life, and he himself too. But he's got the situation now that the change in narrative is in certain cases traumatic. And the same for me. And we both struggle to adapt to this changing environment. And in our last part of our conversation, he said to me, you see, this is the response of a racist supremacist. And I said, okay, just block it. Point number one, why do you say it's racist? Why do you say I'm a supremacist? Because I don't agree with your view, and therefore we are different on that. Doesn't mean I'm a supremacist. I'm just stating a fact. You see things like this and I see things like that. And that is what we have to take in consideration all the time. That our cultural differences make us getting different perceptions from the same fucking statement. And then he said to me, what do you think it will take to sort this racism and shit, that friction that is between white and black? How will that be resolved? And I said, well, look, the thing is this. It's going to take exactly the same as one night in a debate, the guy asked me, and he said to me, he's in, I think he's in Poland or somewhere, and he said to me, okay, but you're sitting in South Africa. what do you think should happen here to stop this war in the Ukraine? And I said, look, I've said it in many of my Skidmarks, that EU leadership must get on a plane and fly to Moscow and go and see Putin and go and sit down with him and say, listen, we fucked up. How can we fix this? And then shut up and wait, let Putin talk. And I think this is the same thing that should happen here, because there's a lot of animosity in the white population about the BEE and affirmative action. A lot of guys lost their careers because of it. A lot of guys left the country because of it. A lot of people's children left the country because of that. So there's a lot of trauma around that. And the reality is, the loss of those skills is clearly visible in the way the SOEs and large portions of the government system is just falling apart. The lack of those skills. And he said to me, but okay, you can't say it's BEE and affirmative action. He said, okay, now just explain to me. You're now an engineer with 25 years of experience. And all of a sudden, a cater gets deployed to your section. And he is now your boss. But he knows fuck all about engineering. How must that engineer handle that? Because professionals, as a rule, are finicky people. They want to focus on the task and for what they studied and so forth, and they don't want any part of any fucking politics and cock like that. So he just one morning walks in there, take a look, and realize this boat is going to hell. Goodbye, I'm getting off. Go. And then I gave him an example. I said, I think it was in 2007 or 2009. I can't remember exactly the year. But on one day, 245 telecom network technicians got on one plane and flew off to Australia. And Sykes was never the same again after that. So that is a major problem. It's a major loss for the country. And the loss of skills and loss of experience between that 245 people is hundreds of years of experience just lost. Same happened with the people at Denel, same happened with the people at Kruifkoor, same happened to the people at Eskom. I believe someone said to me that the Melbourne city in Australia, the electricity department is basically 90% manned by ex-Eskom people. That is huge losses for a developing country. How are we going to stop that? How are we going to fix this cock? Because we need all these skills to sit together and say, guys, we're in the shit, we got to get out. How are we going to get out? But the majority of black people, he would rather die than ask a white guy. And then we have an issue that there is frustrated white guys, that the moment that that happens, they're going to say, fuck you, I'm not going to help you. And in the end, we're all in the same Titanic. So maybe these guys that are driving the racism agenda in government must get to a point and go and sit at the table and say, guys, okay, we fucked up. Sorry. How do we fix this? And let's hear what comes out of it. But as it is today, it cannot continue. It just cannot continue. There are too many broken parts here. And the financial thing is going to be the final straw that's going to break the camel's back. And if that happens, saucers out of the window, bam, gone. Pensions, gone. Can you imagine that? Apart from the unrest and the riots that will flow out of that, the big thing is this: a lot of people will be physically unable to buy food. So they will either loot or die of hunger. That's the options they have. Now I am not so sure they're going to go for dying of hunger as a first option. But that is something that is a problem. And he said to me, this triple X, how the hell are we going to break them? And I said, well, I'm of the opinion that it is only on tribal level that we can break them. We got to get back to tribal level. Because the reality is, if the government is collapsed and we're on tribal level, that tribal leader can tell a triple X company, you're not taking 1 kilogram of whatever out of this ground before you give us a guarantee that we are going to get a fair price. If you cannot do that, take your contract and fuck off. We do not accept the jurisdiction of any courts. This is tribal land, we're in charge. Because politicians will never do that. Because all the politicians are in the pockets of Triple X. So we, the people, cannot depend on our representatives to look out for us, because those representatives are no longer our representatives. They have assumed the position of rulers, and they don't owe us nothing. They just execute the commands from Triple X, their masters. That is a big problem, because I said to him, in a collapse, if the government collapses, the violence and the riots are going to be enormous. The tribal communities in the rural areas will have a fairly good chance of surviving. The people, the cosmopolitans in the cities, are going to be in deep shit because criminal gangs will take control of areas. That's it. And he was not 100% with me when I said that, and he said to me, I don't understand the dynamics on the ground and so forth, and I said, I'll accept that. But from the information that I have, my scenario looks very likely. But let's hope it doesn't happen. But to prevent it from happening, there will have to come a massive change in attitude from the ANC. That is what I see. But okay. So, as for the channel, it is nice to see the support. But guys, it is not, I cannot make a living on that. And this channel is taking a lot of my time. Easy 16 to 18 hours a day. Just like that. Now, as I have explained previously in Skidmarks, I also have this debit order facilities that I can, people that needs debit order facilities, I can provide that. And if you are interested in something like that, you can send me an email to skidmarks@ppol.co.za, and I'll take it from there and get the correct guys to handle the situation. That is one way of supporting me, but at the same time helping your own business with it. And I'm trying to see if it's going to be worth my while to start a merchandise shop, t-shirts and caps and scarves and things like that. I'm talking to people about that. But the reality is, all of us will have to pull our belts in one notch. It's going to get tougher before it's going to get better. And I said to my son last night, I went through a time where the prime interest rate was over 20%. That was scary. That was scary shit. I think it was 21.5 or something like that where it turned. Imagine the prime rate goes to 20%. What's going to happen to your bond payment and your car payments and things like that? So my advice tonight, is get out of debt. I have mentioned it in one of my Skidmarks that way back in 1988, December 88. I had the agency for some specialized welding rods and stuff that could weld through grease and underwater and all that. And the guy that was the owner of the manufacturing operation in Hong Kong, he was a wise guy and very clever oak. And that December of 88, he sent telexes. Those years there was not things like emails and WhatsApps and cock like that, with a telex. And he sent the telex out with his Christmas message on it. And at the bottom of his message he said, "My advice to you is to get out of debt. If you are not out of debt by February 1989, not even your maker will be able to save you." And that was prophetic words. If you go back in history, go and look how many small businesses folded in that period, 89, 90. A bloodbath. But the bottom value is the same. Get out of debt. Because if you don't have debt and you have a tough month, you can slice the bread thinner and shit like that. But if you've got debt with payments, installments, if you miss 2 installments, and normally what happens is guys go and they buy a car and they have to take it on 70 months or something like that to make that payment fit into their budget. So they just make it. If he goes in arrears 2 months, he can never catch up again. He's going to lose that car, or he's going to lose his house, because if he cannot pay the one payment, the normal standard payment, how the hell is he going to pay 2 payments that is in arrears? So, my advice to you young guys, watch out for debt. It is a trap. And once you're in it, you become a slave of that debt. And then we see all this hanky-panky from the absolutely fucking scary. And that shows you how vulnerable we are. But I've been talking a lot of crap now. It's hot. The load shedding is over the boundaries of sane. And it doesn't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel on this thing, because there are bigger plans behind the load shedding. I am of the opinion load shedding has been weaponized and they are using it. Next thing is going to be water. And between load shedding and water, we are going to run into a food production problem. Doesn't sound good, but that's the reality. So, take a good look around you and see that you can at least get some things in order to ensure that you can survive. I think if the shit hits the fan, the major pandemonium and panic and chaos will last 4 to 6 weeks. That's what I think. Because there is things in communities in place that will very rapidly get communities sorted out. But you must understand, your planning must include provision for the fact that there will be no electricity there will be no water, there will be no communications. And that automatically means that your bank cards and shit is not going. Keep that in mind in your planning. Please give me a like and a subscribe and share the thing. Thank you for your support.